Welcome to Oh My Ghoshh Stories, where the shadows whisper and the truth is stranger than fiction. These aren't just stories. They're real encounters, chilling confessions, and dark secrets that were never meant to be told. Turn off the lights, plug in your headphones, and prepare to ask yourself, was that just the wind or something else? Story 1. The Lake House That Watched Us. I've only told this story to 2 people, and both of them had nightmares for weeks, so consider this your warning. In the summer of 2016, my cousin Mia and I rented a lake house in upstate New York. We were both 23, had just finished grad school, and wanted a break. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal, just quiet. The house was isolated, tucked between thick pines, with a private dock that stretched into Black Hollow Lake. No neighbors for half a mile in either direction. Sounded perfect. When we arrived, everything looked just like the listing. Old but charming. White paint chipping off the wood panels. A wraparound porch creaking under our feet. Inside, the house smelled faintly like pine and mothballs. It had this stillness to it, like a museum, or a place waiting for something to happen. The first weird thing happened on our second night. We were out on the dock, watching the stars. Total silence, except for the water lapping. Mia suddenly said, "Did you see that?" I looked. Nothing. She pointed to the second floor of the house, to one of the windows. There was someone standing there. I told her she was imagining it. We were alone. We had to be. But when we went back inside, that same window, the guest bedroom, was open. We'd left it shut, I was sure. Still, it was an old house. Drafts happen, right? That night I heard scratching from inside the walls. Long, slow scrapes, then silence. Then again, like something dragging across wood. The next morning, I checked the walls. No mice, no holes, nothing. Just these faint dark smudges under the window, like finger marks. On the third night, we both woke up at exactly 3:12 a.m. I remember because I checked the clock as soon as I sat up. No noise had woken us, no movement, just this sudden sharp instinct, like someone had whispered our names. We went downstairs together, half laughing at how paranoid we were being. Then we saw the front door. It was wide open, and there were wet footprints leading in. They started at the porch, crossed the foyer, and disappeared halfway through the living room. No exit prints, no puddles, just gone. Mia wanted to leave right then. I convinced her it was just a prank, that maybe someone local knew the house was empty most summers and was trying to scare us. But I didn't believe it. Not really, because those prints were too small, like a child's, but barefoot. And there were too many toes. The next day, we explored the woods nearby. We wanted space, sunlight, anything to distract us. About a quarter-mile in, we found this old, overgrown path. It led to a clearing with 3 rusted metal stakes sticking out of the ground. Each one had pieces of fabric tied around it, red, blue, yellow. They looked like torn children's clothes. We turned around fast, didn't say a word to each other until we were back inside. That night, we locked everything, windows, doors, even the attic hatch. We pushed a dresser in front of the back door. Still, at 3:12 a.m., again we both woke up, heart racing, skin cold. No noise, except a soft knock from inside the guest bedroom. We grabbed the fireplace poker and crept up. The door was shut, but there was light under it, that soft yellowy glow like an old bulb. We hadn't turned on any lights. I pushed the door open slowly. Nothing. Light bulb swinging. Window open again. Curtains fluttering in still air. And on the bed, a handprint in dust. Fresh. 6 fingers. On our final night, we didn't sleep. We sat in the living room with all the lights on. Mia had her phone, checking the time constantly. 3:12 came and went. Nothing. Then, at 3:23, 11 minutes later, we heard splashing from the lake. We ran to the window. Someone Something was climbing onto the dock. It was human-shaped, but too tall, too thin. Its arms hung low, and it was dripping wet. We watched it walk slowly toward the house. It didn't knock, didn't try the door. It just stood there, looking up, right at us, its head tilted sideways like it was listening. And then it turned and ran. Not back to the lake, but around the side of the house. We backed up, hearts pounding. Then tap. From behind us, we turned. The second-floor window, that same one. A face pale, smiling. Too many teeth. We left that night. Didn't even pack. A few weeks later, I looked up the property records. The lake house had been owned by the same family for over a century. No one had lived there full-time since 1987, when a child had drowned. But what stuck with me was this. The child's name was never listed. Only a note in the margin of the record. Window boy. Never named, never left. We still don't know what we saw. But sometimes, when I wake up at night, the clock reads 3:12, and the air smells faintly like lake water. Story 2. The Cabin in Devil's Bluff. You ever go somewhere and feel like you're not supposed to be there? Not in a private property way, I mean a gut feeling. Like the land itself doesn't want you there. That's how I felt the second we pulled up to the cabin. It was summer 2019. 3 of us, me, Josh, and Talia, rented a secluded Airbnb in the Smoky Mountains for a weekend of hiking, grilling, and disconnecting. The listing called it Rustic Charm on Devil's Bluff. We laughed about the name. Thought it sounded cool. But the locals at the gas station didn't. When we told them where we were headed, the guy behind the counter just said, "Don't go wandering off. That place ain't right." Logs blackened by age, metal roof rusting in spots. We shrugged it off. Big mistake. The cabin was old. No cell signal, no internet. Just a single landline in the kitchen. Just 2 bedrooms, a wood stove, and a weird set of carved masks hanging on the wall. And silence. So much silence that you could hear your heartbeat at night. Inside was mostly bare. They looked tribal, maybe African or native, but one of them had eyes that felt alive. I didn't like it. None of us did. We spent our first evening drinking beers on the porch and watching the sunset bleed through the trees. Everything was calm. Until around 2 a.m. I woke up to footsteps on the porch. Slow. Deliberate. 1 step. Pause. Another. I lay frozen in bed, eyes wide open, listening. Then tapping, not on the door. On the window. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up and peeked through the blinds. Nothing there. But I noticed something strange. The mask from the wall, the one with the eyes, it wasn't there in the morning. We figured maybe it fell during the night, but it wasn't on the floor. It was just gone. Josh swore we were messing with him. We weren't. Later that day, we went hiking along a trail behind the cabin. The woods were thick, quiet in that heavy, pressing way. No birds, no wind, just stillness. After about an hour, we found something weird. Rocks, arranged in a spiral. Dozens of them, smooth and white, like river stones, laid perfectly into the forest floor. At the center of the spiral was the missing mask. Upright, staring at us. I laughed, but it sounded forced. Talia said, "Let's leave it." Josh picked it up. "It's probably some art thing. Relax." I wish we hadn't touched it. That night, things got worse. At 3:11 am, I woke up to the smell of burning wood. The cabin wasn't on fire. The wood stove was cold. But that smell, sharp and smoky, was thick in the air. Then I heard whispers, soft, fast, in a language I didn't understand, coming from the living room. I crept out of bed and peeked through the cracked door. There were shadows on the walls, moving, dancing, but no one was there. I called out for Josh and Talia. No answer. I found them outside, barefoot, standing in the yard. Their eyes were open, but distant, like they were sleepwalking. "Guys," I whispered, They both turned to me at the same time, in unison, and smiled. The next morning, they had no memory of it. Talia said she dreamed of people in the woods, faceless, wearing bones. Josh just said, "I feel weird." Like watched. We wanted to leave, but the car wouldn't start. Battery was dead, or something else. We tried the landline, dead too. We were cut off. That afternoon, while trying to build a fire, I found something behind the cabin. Carvings, in the tree trunks. Dozens of them, all the same symbol, a spiral made of eyes. Underneath one of the trees was another mask, different than the last. Its mouth open, like it was screaming. We buried it. Didn't tell the others, but that night the screaming started. 3:11 again, I heard it echo through the trees. Not human, not animal, just raw pain. We all heard it. We all got up. Josh grabbed an axe. Talia clutched a flashlight. We stood on the porch, staring out. The woods were dark, still. Then we saw them, figures, just standing between the trees. Dozens of them, tall, thin, wearing masks, the spiral eye kind. They didn't move, didn't speak, but we could feel them, watching. Then they raised their hands, all at once. And the masks they wore started to weep, black tears. We ran inside, boarded the doors. That whole night, they circled the cabin. We heard footsteps, breathing, tapping on the walls. Not trying to get in, just reminding us they were there. When dawn came, everything stopped. The masks were gone. The symbols on the trees, gone. Our car started. We drove 90 miles before we even spoke. When we finally got a signal, we looked up the area. Found an old article from 1972 about a group of hikers who vanished in those woods. All they left behind was a spiral made of bones. And one sentence carved into a rock: "The Watchers wear our faces." Talia doesn't talk about it. Josh moved to a city and never goes near forests anymore. And me? I haven't worn a mask since. Because every time I look in the mirror, I swear my reflection is just a little off, like something's wearing me now. Story 3, Room 209. This happened in the summer of 2021, and I still won't stay in hotels because of it. I was on a solo road trip through the Pacific Northwest, Oregon to Washington. Just me, my backpack, and a borrowed Toyota. That night, I pulled into a little town near the Washington coast, middle of nowhere. I was exhausted, hungry, just wanted a place to sleep. There was only one hotel. Looked like it hadn't changed since the 80s. Faded sign out front, Harbor View Lodge. Even though the ocean was nowhere in sight. The clerk was pale, distracted. Didn't ask for ID, just slid me a key and said, "Room 209. "Elevator's broken," I asked. "Busy night?" He shook his head. "You're the only guest." The hallway upstairs was dim. Lights buzzed overhead. Carpet smelled faintly of mildew and bleach. Room 209 was at the very end. When I unlocked the door, it took a few hard pushes to get it open, like the air inside was heavier. The room was fine. One queen bed, an old TV on a wooden dresser, but there was something off about it. Like the room was too quiet, not peaceful, unnatural. I unpacked, showered, and laid on the bed, scrolling through photos from my trip. Then I noticed something in one of them. A picture I'd taken just before checking in, of the front of the hotel. There was a shape in the upstairs window, my window. But I hadn't gone up yet when I took that. It looked like a man, just standing there. I tried to convince myself it was a reflection, or maybe another guest. But I remembered what the clerk had said. "You're the only one here." That night I couldn't sleep. The silence was wrong. Every now and then, I'd hear creaks above me, but I was on the top floor. Once, around 1 AM, I heard whispering in the hallway. I opened the door quickly, the room across from mine, 210. Its door was open, just an inch. I walked over, pushed it open. The room was gutted. No bed, no furniture. Just a single chair in the middle, facing the wall. And on the wall, scratched into the plaster, over and over, "He never checks out." I went downstairs, told the clerk what I saw. He just stared at me and said, "You shouldn't open doors that aren't yours." I went back up, closed my door tight, locked it, and at 3:11 a.m., not a minute before, not a minute after, the phone in my room rang. I didn't want to answer it, but I did. All I heard was breathing. Then a voice, and whispering, "You saw him, didn't you?" Click. I packed up at dawn and was about to leave when I realized the room key was missing. It had been on the nightstand. I looked everywhere, under the bed, in my bag. Then I heard it. Something dropped onto the carpet behind me. There, in the middle of the room, was the key. But it wasn't the plastic one I was given. It was metal, and it said room 210. I didn't take it. I just ran. At the front desk, there was no clerk. Just a note taped to the counter. "If he follows you out, bring the key back." I jumped in the car and drove. Didn't stop until I hit Portland. But that wasn't the end. 3 days later, I checked into a Marriott, big city. Bright lights, modern. But that night, the hotel phone rang at 3:11 and I let it ring. Then I unplugged it, went back to bed. But when I pulled the sheets back, something fell out from under the pillow. Another old metal key. I don't know who he is. I don't know what room 210 is. But I think once you see him, you carry a piece of him with you. And if you still don't believe this happened, go to Harbor View Lodge. Ask for room 210. Just don't open the door. Because if you do, he'll know your name too. If this story gave you chills, you're not alone. Subscribe to Oh My Ghoshh Stories for more terrifying tales every week. Drop a comment below. What would you do if this happened to you? Until next time, stay safe, stay alert, and don't turn around.